Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? So I am extremely excited for this video because today I am going to be talking about a palette that I put together from my single collection, which that was a big goal of mine for this year, is to just make my own palettes and be creative and use my single shadows more because I love them so much, and I feel like it's so inspiring to just do your own color schemes, especially if sometimes you just get a craving for something that you feel like isn't really being produced, which is definitely how I feel about this palette. For a long time I've been like, I want a palette that's like yellow and like grungy, like dirty greens. Like I just thought it would be such a beautiful color scheme together, and that's what I kind of took that idea, I ran with it. I put all of my yellow and green single shadows out on my desk behind me here. I had literally like probably like over 100 shadows, and I just went through and I picked the ones I found were most unique, and then I just kind of made them to go together and like made sure I had like some lighter shades and mattes and shimmers, and then I went ahead and placed them all in the palette. And I think I'm just so proud of this color scheme because I feel like it looks so beautiful. Like if this was a palette that was on the market, I would buy it in like literally 0.2 seconds because I just love it. So I just went ahead and put it in a empty palette from Divina Cosmetics, but this is the palette that I came up with. So I feel like it is just so beautiful, and you can see like there are some really fun pops of yellow, and there's like a gold, but there is also a lot of greens, and all of the greens are interesting greens. Actually this one is kind of more like just like a greeny teal because I felt like that would be a really pretty deepening shade, but all of the other greens either have like a dirty pukey undertone or like a really greeny yellow undertone, and I just love this mixture of eyeshadows. I told myself I need to be humble because normally I'm not like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, but I just feel like this palette is so pretty. I wish I could just like bundle this up and send them to y'all. So in today's video, I am going to go ahead and go through each shadow one by one, talk about why I chose it, what's special about it, and swatch it and just show you, more in depth my perfect grunge palette. That's what I decided to go ahead and call this, just because to me this is like my type of grungy tones. My friend also suggested calling it my perfect puke palette. Not really sure how people would respond to that name, but I can definitely see the pukey vibes. I definitely am here for it. So I really just love this, and I will say really quickly, obviously having all these shadows and buying all these shadows would be a lot. So, some of them might not even be available anymore. The idea of doing these kind of videos is like for inspiration and to like maybe pull out of your own eyeshadow palettes. Like if you have some yellows and some greens in different palettes, maybe pull them together and see what you can come up with. It doesn't necessarily mean like you need to go out and like buy from like 8 different indie brands and make this palette exactly, because that would obviously be a lot. But, I just want to be able to inspire you guys to look into your own collection and maybe come up with some interesting color combos. So like I said, today's video will just be all about the palette, and then on Wednesday I am going to be posting 3 looks using this collection of eyeshadows and just doing 3 looks that are all yellow and green. And I really love how all the looks turned out, so definitely keep your eyes open for that video. And if you are here a few days later than it was uploaded, I will make sure to go ahead and update the description box and add it down below for you for your convenience. So now let's go ahead and just jump into my perfect grunge palette. Alright, so the first shade in this palette is Soul from Canon Cosmetics, and I felt like this was the perfect shade. Whenever I think of a palette, I always think like there has to be an inner corner shade, and I love this one because I feel like it's super interesting. This is a yellow shadow that has a bluey green shift to it. I do find it to be more blue, but in the looks that I used it pulled more green because of what was surrounding it. So I feel like this is the perfect inner corner shadow to go with this because it has that yellow to it, and it has, like I said, that bluey green to it, so it really fits everything that's going on here. And honestly, like I am definitely going to be keeping these shadows in, probably not this palette because this is my like running like make my own palette thing, but I have a lot of empty palettes and I'm going to go ahead and keep these together for a while because I'm so inspired and I still want to do more looks with these. So Here is Soul. So beautiful. The shift is just everything. I actually used it as a highlighter today. Like, look at that. I cannot. Okay, the next shade is another shimmer, and this is Martini from Divina Cosmetics. And this is just a really light, like kind of like a lime green metallic shade. Just looks like this. It's super pretty. I just thought I have a light yellow, I may as well have a light green, and I just tried to keep a balance between the two different colors so that I would have, you know, just a really good color story going on. So there is Martini. I will say this is definitely more of like a sheen shimmer. It's not super metallic. That's really pretty. Okay, the next shade in the palette is Sunbeam from Sydney Grace Cosmetics. This is kind of the same type of shade. It's more of a sheen than like a super metallic color, but it's a true yellow. Like, look at that. Look at how vibrant that is. It's just beautiful. So there is Sunbeam. I would love to have a color like this, but super metallic. I don't really think I own anything like that, which is why I went with this, because I just wanted that like vibrancy. So I really love the way this color, just the color is so neon. I just love it. Okay, the next shade in the palette is a matte, and this is Igneous Cosmetics Pear. I was super excited to play with this shade because I bought a couple different shadows from Igneous Cosmetics. I haven't used them very much, and so I was excited to play with them more. They have a lot of really beautiful, unique green tones. They are a Canadian indie brand. So there's what Pear looks like. I feel like this is the perfect shadow for this collection because it is a green, but it has such a strong yellow undertone. Like, this blends with yellow really, really beautifully, which with this color scheme, I did actually go through and like I kind of like would swatch the different shades on my hand and make sure that they all blended together. So I really just love what this shade added, and I did enjoy using it. I felt like it was a pretty good shadow. Still have to use it more before I could give like a full review on the Igneous formula or anything, but I do think they have some really beautiful, unique shades. So that is Pear. What a good name. That's a really nice pear. I have not ate a pear in a really long time now that I think about it. Okay, the next shade I just absolutely had to include, and this is Courtney from Divina Cosmetics. I feel like this shade started it all. It is just the most beautiful green shadow. I would say it's a green with a heavy yellow undertone, but it's different than pear. It's deeper, it's a little like more pukey, but it's still like such a gorgeous shade, and it's so pigmented, and I just love this formula. Like, So there is Courtney. You can see it's not quite as like vibrant as Pear, but it's kind of the same color story, and it is really, really beautiful. The next shadow in the palette is Looksy Beauty Tricked, and I feel like this was just such a nice pop. This was actually the last shade that I chose. This was empty, and I was like, what can I put here? And I thought, you know what? I'm not a gold person, but I feel like it just fits here, and it just added something unique to the color story. And although I'm not super huge on gold, this is one of my favorite ones. Unfortunately, I don't think it's available anymore, but it's just the formula is so buttery and metallic, and it just looks so like liquid gold on your eyelids. So I really, really love this particular shadow. I will say really quickly before I forget that I did try and think like, is there anything on the market like this? And I really can't think of anything. I thought it almost has just a touch like of such subculture vibes, like maybe like Subculture is like its distant cousin or something, but I feel like it definitely stands on its own, this kind of color story. I really, really hope someone released something like this, because I feel like greens and yellows, they go together really, really well. So everyone's kind of on the green and blue train right now. So hopefully we'll see. We'll see what happens next. It's a wild ride, I'm sure, but here is Tricked. Like, look at that. It is just, ugh, I love this gold. Don't expect to hear me saying that very often, but here is what it looks like swatched. It is more of like a coppery type of gold, but super pretty. Okay, next, obviously I had to have a true matte yellow shade. So this is Lemon Drop from Colored Raine, and this is one of their vivid pigments. which again, I'm not sure if it's available anymore. They do have it in the palette, but they stopped selling them as singles, which doesn't make any sense to me, but here's what it looks like. Super beautiful. It looks a little sheer when you swatch it like that, but it does build up really, really well. And it's very, very vibrant. I'm going to do a second swatch on that one. Like, look at that. So pretty. Okay, the next shade is Patina from Divina Cosmetics, and this was actually from their new Kiss Me Clover bundle. I really liked this particular shade, and I feel like it's just a really good, true, like, pukey green. Without being too dark. I don't know, it's a good mid-tone shade. Okay, so the next shade I have here is Sunken Treasure from Sydney Grace Cosmetics, and I feel like this is another like really good shade that kind of just pairs the gap between the two different colors, because this is like a really beautiful green, but it's like it's a greeny gold. Like, it has a little bit of a golden shift to it. It's not super apparent, but it is there, and the formula of this is so beautiful. I believe this is one of their pressed pigments, so you can see it is extremely metallic, and I really love this particular shade. And, you know, it's a little bit of a deeper metallic shade, so I think it adds something nice here. Okay, next is Faucet from Divina Cosmetics. I believe that this is one of their older shadows. I've had it for a little bit, I'm pretty sure. And this is, like, again, a dirty green, but this is almost like an army green. Like, it has a little bit more, like, I don't know, it has more, a little bit of a gray undertone to it, but it's the same tones, but a little bit deeper, basically. And it's a really, really nice formula, super, super smooth. So there is Faucet. The last and deepest metallic is Damned Damsel from Looksy Beauty, which is like a really beautiful metallic green shade. I love this one. I feel like it's so beautiful. I love the Looksy metallic formula, and like, look at that. Like, I love that she has shades that are still like super, super deep, but they still reflect really beautifully. Like, I love that shade. Oh no, look at me. I'm not swatching very well today. It's like all off-centered. I can just like do this a little bit. The last and final shade in the palette is a matte from Colored Raine, and it is another one of their vivid pigments. It is the shade Squad. It's like a really deep teal, and I'm not sure if this is the perfect color for this. I think it is a really beautiful color and it works well with these, but if I had to, like, if I was able to create a color on my own, I could imagine this, but maybe like a little bit less bright and maybe a little bit more like of a dirty undertone, but still super dark, but not exactly black either. Like, maybe like a really deep black. Anyways, basically, it's not the perfect shadow in my mind for this, but it is really beautiful and it does play well with the other colors. And this is probably my favorite really deep green single that I have. So I kind of just keep reverting back to it. I think I've used this in a few different like palettes that I've made, because I just really like the shade in general. It's not my favorite formula ever, but like I've said in the past, the Colored Raine Vivid Pigments, I don't like them all together, but when you pair them with other normal formulas, I am able to make them work, thank goodness, because I was so disappointed when I first got them, but now I am kind of finding a way to really love and enjoy them. So let me just go ahead and swatch Squad for y'all. Squad. I'm gonna swatch, I was about to say swatch Swad. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna swatch Squad. Ooh. I'm swatching it, I can feel like there's like a good like little indent happening in this shadow. Yay for progress. So you can see it has a lot of blue undertones. Oh, I guess this just means I need to buy more shadows, huh? Although realistically, the shade that I'm thinking of that I would want here, in the original Jaclyn Hill palette, there's a super deep green that is really, really deep, but it still looks green. I think that would kind of be similar to like my perfect shade. So, you know, if I was just using this on my own, you know, just whatever, using whatever I had, I would probably go for that shade because I really like that one. So there's what all of the shades look like swatched together. I really, really love the color story and personally just find it very, very inspiring. And it's one of those color stories that make me want to do my makeup and play with new things and try new things, and I don't know, I really like this all together. Alright, so that is everything for the palette. Before I go, I figured I would tell y'all really quickly that recently I did my perfect blue palette, and I got a lot of love on that, and I was asked to make that a series, and I definitely do want to continue doing it. It's actually not the first video I've done like that. I did do it in my perfect green palette a hot minute ago, like a really long time, like before this background. So I can leave those other two videos linked down below in case you want to check them out. I just figured I'd let you know that that is already a thing. I did my perfect green palette, and then I did a week of green, and then I did my version of the Norvina palette, and then I did a week of purple, although that's not technically my perfect purple palette. It was really, really heavily inspired by the Norvina palette, but what I would want it to be, so I could still potentially do my perfect purple palette and then like a purple week number 2. So just let me know what color you guys want to see next, because I like doing this. I think it's really fun, and maybe I'll go back and forth alternating between like doing one specific color and doing like color stories, because does anyone have a cat that caterwauls all the time? Like, it's ridiculous. Okay, I think I was saying that I will go back and forth between doing like a color and doing like my own whatever I want to do, whatever I'm inspired by. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I think doing this is super fun, and I don't know how much it helps y'all with your like getting really tempted to buy single shadows that you don't own, but for me personally, it's helping me stick to my own collection and just enjoy what I own, because the more I use my single shadows, I'm like, these are bomb, like these are amazing, and I can make any palette that I want because I have way too many singles. So anyways, I think that's everything I have to say. So I will see you guys on Wednesday. Bye.